TV family.
Welcome back to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is Ekse. Live, follow us on Twitter, it's Ekse_live, or do dial us on 021-448-0448. Thank you for choosing us as your source of information, education, and entertainment. I won't get to Laza, Kim Blanche, Lwandile Zulu, Sinalo, Jonas Rizajo, Sherry Forbes, Lama Moon. We all here to serve you nothing but the very best of youth entertainment. To get in contact with us, email uekse@capetowntv.org. Just in particular, another special individual, Devon. I'm hoping that I'm pronouncing it correctly. Devon, right?
Devon.
Yes, there we go. Devon, let me give you a brief introduction about him. Mr. Crawford is a proud native of Alabama. He's the son of Jerome Crawford. Devon in 2015 graduated College Atlanta, Georgia, earning a Bachelor of Arts degrees in philosophy with departmental honors. At the college, Devon served as a president of the Martin Luther King Jr. International Chapel assistant, an Oprah Winfrey South Africa and Zimbabwe fellow, and an inaugural member of the John Lewis Fellowship through Humanity in Action and the Center of Civil and Humanity Rights. During his final year at the college, Devon was named the 2015 Martin Luther King Jr. Scholar. Additionally, he has traveled to Turkey as an inaugural member of the Martin Luther King Jr. College of Pastor Leadership in 2015, and Japan as a peace ambassador to commemorate the 67th anniversary of the world's first nuclear attacks of humanity in 2012. He currently serves as the Edward Billy Lucy Fellow of the Samuel DeWalt Proctor Conference Incorporation while pursuing the Masters of Divinity degree at the University of Chicago Divinity School in Illinois. Welcome to the show, and thank you for taking time to chat with us.
Thank you a great deal for having me.
Listen, we don't know much about Alabama. All I know is Beyonce sings about it in one of her songs. My daddy, Alabama. Mommy, Louisiana. Blah, 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 blah. But we want to find out, how was it for you to grow up in Alabama, and how is it for an African-American child estates? How was you growing up?
Thank you a great deal for the question, and thank you, Cape Town TV, for having me. As you mentioned, my name is Devon Jerome Crawford. I come from the city of Birmingham, Alabama. And when I think about Alabama, Alabama really has a tragic beauty that characterizes its history. To be sure, Alabama was a space where we saw the domestic slave trade going from Montgomery to different parts of the country, where we see the depravity of plantation slavery that took place across the antebellum South. We see these major moments of great tragedy as it pertains to people of African descent in the South. But we also see great resistance and resilience that come from the people of Alabama. We remember that the great revolutions of the 20th century, the Civil Rights Revolution and the Voting Rights Revolution, the Voting Rights Revolution of 1964 and the Civil Rights Movement of 1964 and 3, that took place in the state, on the soil of Alabama. And so as a child coming from that, I come from a neighborhood called Dynamite Hill, in Birmingham, Alabama, which has a legacy of moral militant activism of young people that engaged in the movement for human rights and for freedom. Some of the other folks that you may know that come from that neighborhood are Dr. Angela Yvonne Davis. And you realize as you grow up in this space that you're surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses of what happens when our people come together to create good trouble, in the words of Congressman John Lewis, who's also a son of Alabama, and create a beloved community.
Jerome, after school, you decided to study for a Bachelor of Arts degree in philosophy. What gravitated you towards that qualification?
Yes, you're correct. I decided to study philosophy at Morehouse College, and that's in the neighboring state of Alabama in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. Now you have to understand that Morehouse is the only institution founded in the United States to educate Black men after the American Civil War in 1865. In fact, 2 years after the end of the Civil War, Morehouse College endeavored to start a great argument and keep it alive. This argument that Black men could be socially conscious leaders with global perspectives, in the words of my former president, Robert Michael Franklin. I studied philosophy at Morehouse, which many would regard as the international headquarters of Black male achievement. Some of the people that you know that have come from Morehouse are the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Spike Lee, and our brother Samuel L. Jackson. And so it placed a mandate to be a leader, particularly in this country. And why philosophy? Well, philosophy introduced me to the history of logic and wisdom in this world. When you think about it, philosophy gives you a window into the ancient arguments about what is the good life, or what is justice, or moral action in the world. And so I knew that as a leader, I would need this breadth of wisdom that was offered in the curriculum of the philosophy department in order to offer sound judgment and decision making in the life that I was moving into.
Can you tell us about the Martin Luther King Jr. program that you were part of? What is it about and what was your role in it? And perhaps elaborate on the experience. How was it for you to be part of that, Sam?
Yes, thank you. The Martin Luther King Jr. International Chapel Assistance Program at Morehouse College was founded in 1979. It is a program committed to training faith leaders, clergy, and moral leaders, those who go on to be pastors, those who go on to be professors, some who go on to be litigators and public policy activists. It brings you together in this incubator as young men and women in college to study and reflect and embody the philosophy and methods of nonviolent direct action. This is, of course, a philosophy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that engaged truth, that engaged power with prophetic truth. And so as young people, we are given the tools, we engage elders, we commit to this spirit and this mandate of being nonviolent leaders in this world. And so we not only maintain connections in our college years, but we go on to be colleagues years after. And I was privileged to serve as the president of this organization in 2014, 2015, and the 2015 Martin Luther King Jr. Scholar from Morehouse College.
Jerome, not everyone can brag about being an Oprah Winfrey Fellow. What is an Oprah Winfrey Fellow, and what were you tasked on doing in that fellowship?
Thank you. I wouldn't say I would brag, but it's a great honor. But the Oprah Winfrey, as you know, has been a major supporter of Morehouse College. She is the highest donor to the college in its history. And so she endowed a scholarship for students to travel to South Africa and Zimbabwe, to go to South Africa to study the ways in which HIV/AIDS affected and infected our brothers and sisters in this continent. Because we realize that unless all of us are healthy, none of us are healthy. That includes those of us who are in different parts of the world. And so we committed ourselves to study and understand the effects of HIV/AIDS and how we can make meaningful interventions in the lives of everyday people. In South Africa, in Zimbabwe, we studied different methods of telecommunications to really bring the world to rural and remote spaces on the continent, looking at certain companies and nonprofits and philanthropies that are really bridging the gap in the digital divide between our brothers and sisters on the continent. So that was a experience that was afforded to me in 2014, really expanding my worldview, deepening my love for travel, and of course, my love for the mother continent.
Now, you seem to be drawn towards human and civil rights. Why is that so, and what are some of the activities and tasks that you have been activating since you are part of human and civil rights activities?
Thank you, thank you. I have to say quite simply, human and civil rights, the struggle for freedom is in my blood. I come from a resilient and creative people who made something out of nothing. I'm talking about Black women and men who were enslaved in the antebellum South, but who still organized faith communities, who still engaged in revolution to recreate a new world. It's what we've always been doing in order to not only survive, but to thrive in this country. And so I'm simply embodying a tradition, embodying a heritage and a movement that was started way before my time. And so some of the things that I've done have really been a reflection of what my ancestors done. I've helped to organize and found organizations, advocacy organizations like the People's Consortium for Civil and Human Rights, Incorporated, with brothers Stephen A. Green, Reverend Stephen A. Green, and Anthony J. Davis. I've worked with the NAACP, the nation's largest and oldest civil rights organization in the country, to register voters in one of the most pivotal election cycles, the 2016 election cycle, not only going to barbershops and college campuses and local neighborhoods, but traveling with artists who lend their voice for social justice, like Chance the Rapper, really bridging arts and activism for this new age. And I've also done the marches. I've led marches from Charlottesville, Virginia to Washington, D.C. to protest racist killings of police, by police, of Black women and men in this country. And so this commitment takes different forms. I'm a preacher as well of the gospel. And the good news is that Jesus came to preach good news to the poor, to set the captives free, to heal the heartbroken, to give sight to the blind, and claim the year of Jubilee for those in debt slavery. That's a social justice agenda. So my very faith commitments are interwoven into my activism. And that's really what animates the work that I do.
You know, Jerome, it takes a village to make a thing a success. After the break, I want you to tell me how can we then, as a global community, make a success, or rather, how can we contribute towards activating human rights? But stick around, we'll take a quick commercial break. When we return, I want you to explain further.
CTV family.